Testing. Testing 1, 2, 3. Oh no, now the music stopped. Let's do that again. Yeah, that seems fine. That's probably fine. Hello. Twitch is giving me an unstable thing. Average stream bitrate too high. I changed nothing. Very strange. Very interesting. Hello, folks. Well, I guess you'll tell me if it's actually unstable. I don't fully believe Twitch here. Seems to be working fine. Worst case scenario, we're not gonna code at 60 FPS. The previews that Twitch generates for, the previews that Twitch generates for social posts are so mediocre. They look very boring. It just has my face on it. All right. Well, I hope everyone's settled in. So, hello again. The idea behind this stream is basically to continue the last one. So we have Compose Hot Reload that we can continue playing with. There's still a lot of work to do on the KotlinConf app. So I was gonna say we'll pick it up where we left off, but we're not gonna do that. I've coded a bunch since the previous stream that we've done. And yeah, I mean, I'm off for a couple days this week, and obviously I was supposed to be off over the weekend, but I found myself coding the same thing in Compose as it happens, because it's just a good way to chill. Honestly, like, Compose is so relaxing to just build components with, you know, tinker with some margins, some paddings, fix some accessibility stuff. It's just very straightforward to work on, so it's nice. So let's see maybe like how we're doing. So some progress in the project itself that we can already look at. First of all, it has a new module. So we already had this UI components module where all of the new UI components can live, but we also have a UI components gallery module now, and that just serves as something where we can run either an Android or a JVM app. So the JVM app is what I use again for hot reloading with the new plugin, which you have to update here in just a minute. So basically it's a window, has an entry point in it for Compose Hot Reload, and then it calls into our gallery app, which is just a column of all of the widgets that we have. And then we have the Android app, which is, I mean, you know, it's a main activity and it hosts the content. Actually, this is what the Android app looks like at the moment. As you can see, we're just rendering into the status bar area as well. And I don't know how to fix that off the top of my head. It would be nice to fix that at some point. It doesn't really matter for us for now, but eventually that would be something good to fix. And then again, we have the hot reload version of this with a desktop app for Compose hot reloading. And if we just go in there, we can go to the gallery, and I don't know, I can maybe remove some of the first things here, and we save it. We'll see that a hot reload happens and it goes away. So that hot reload idea also works across modules and not just in one module. So we're actually also dogfooding that just because we've moved this gallery app into into a new thing, which is good. All right. So let's put those back in, and as a start, let's bump the version off of hot reload before we do anything else. So we're gonna go to the compose hot reload repo. I'll pull that browser up here, something like this, and we can check what the latest version is. Is there a trivial bump here? I assume this must be it, but we can also just check the samples build config. So we can hop into build Gradle, has compose hot reload, but where is the version for that? There it is. So it's 28.4, and then that's the Kotlin version. So let's see what we're on. Go to our catalog. So that version is correct, and this we can just bump to 28.4, and we'll re-import the Gradle project so that we have that, and we'll also rerun the desktop app. And if I can keep myself from just hitting the play button over and over again to fully relaunch the desktop app, hopefully we can launch it once, and then it will just remain open for the entire time that we are working on it. Apparently we're recompiling everything with this version bump. It's taking quite some time for a JVM build. But once it's done, it will pop up on a random display, and we can see that we have these two windows. For those of you who have missed it earlier, whenever you have this plugin applied for Compose Hot Reload, it actually gives you two windows. So it has your actual application, and it has this other dev tooling window where you can do things like clean the compose composition if you have something that's stuck, if you have a failed composition because something got messed up. There's a retry button for that, and you can just generally see the state of updates here. Hopefully we won't need this too much, so I'm just going to move it off screen, but I'll bring it back if we find that something is stuck. Generally speaking, there were a couple bug fixes in hot reload since we last tried it, so I know that it's going to be a bit more careful about keeping state around, so it will prefer correctness after a hot reload now instead of trying to keep as much state in memory as possible. So it will rather reset things just to make sure that there are no incorrectly cached values, which is a change that was made after the last stream, where we were doing something like changing an arranged by something, or sorry, a spaced by arrangement. So for example, on these columns, we have that here, and previously when we changed that, it wouldn't hot reload, but now hopefully that's actually detected, and as you can see, changing the value and saving it does a bunch of it scrolls the output a bit, and then it hot reloads correctly. So that's something that's already fixed since a couple days ago. Let's go to some sort of branch. So right now we're on components 7, which is just like a straight numbered branches that I've been building more and more of these components on. If we look at the repo in the meantime, we can see that I have a currently pending PR from this branch, which adds so much code to the app. We have a bunch of these for rating talks and things like that, so you can see that in action here. Actually, we can also scroll the live application to wherever the Kodi test data is. You can look at Kodi in all kinds of different sizes and appreciate that those components work. So I think we'll continue from here probably. So we can branch off here and just start putting things on a components 8 branch, and then we'll see what we actually build. We can also already commit at least the version bump, so we can bump the hot reload version to whatever it was. I guess that's the new version. So we'll just commit that real quick. Okay, before we pick a new component to work on, I think we can look at some of the existing things that I've added, and I also want to talk a bit about why I wanted to have an Android emulator that's easy to start with the gallery of components. So let's take a look at these two things first. By the way, if you have any questions at any point, we can do arbitrary Q&A. It doesn't have to be strictly related to compose hot reload. We can just do whatever. It's not a scripted thing. We're just chilling here today. So some components that I've built since the stream. So I've polished up some of the existing ones. Oh, how interesting. We actually have a slightly broken component here at certain zoom levels. That is very curious. This is supposed to say 23. Hello there. I mean, we might as well fix this. We found a problem. Let's see what's causing this. So this is the day header component. And that 23 should be a very simple thing. I am very curious about how that broke. Maybe the problem is just that we have a static width on it. So let's see what this component consists of. So we have a row which has a column in it, which is going to be all the stuff on the left, so the month and the date. And then we have another column which is just the two different pieces of text, one under another. So that big piece of text with the date is this one, which has a width modifier on it set to 70 dps. But of course, if we just make this text long enough, like if we make it more digits and we let it hot reload, then we'll see that the 70 dp just breaks it into a lot of different lines. And we can go back to the actual parameter. So this width is really not practical here. I assume I copied this from the design because that was the rough sizing for this. If I can find the component. So here, this element was indeed 70 dps in width, but also it just has to wrap its contents. Interesting that this only occurred at a certain zoom level as well. So instead of width, we can do a height. I mean, we still want to do a width, but we want to do a width in, and we can set it to like a minimum 70 dps so that it doesn't scale too much downwards. But it fits. It fits a slightly larger piece of text. Of course, the interesting part here is that as we have a bunch of these in our layout, if some of them are longer, they will just be longer. If we go to the preview here and add another digit, for example, we'll see that this layout gets inconsistent across different usages, which is an interesting problem to solve. Maybe we just bump this minimum just a tiny bit. We actually do know that it's never going to be more than 2 digits. We can see that for 1 digit, this minimum size already sizes it exactly the same as a two digit number. So I think we just assume that 72 dps is going to be enough at any zoom level at the default sizing, and we'll have to do a bunch of testing for increasing font size anyway later on. So I think we can ignore that for now, and we can get back to it later. But that's an interesting fix. So we're just gonna increase minimum size of day text in day header or something like that. All right. So I was gonna go to other components that are new since the last stream. So we have, for example, a bottom navigation component, which is the same except I've done some accessibility improvements that we can look at in a moment. We have this talk component, which I'm mostly done with, this talk title component, but I think we might need to iterate a bit on it. So we can hop over there. Is it called page title? So I wanted to double check something here, which was this lightning icon. So for lightning talks, we have this small icon here at the first row, and I've actually added a Boolean parameter for that, which works. And what I wanted to double check was again accessibility. So this indicates that something is a lightning talk, but then the tags below it will also contain the fact that it's a lightning talk, so we don't want the screen reader to read that twice, for example. And we do have this content description set to null, so that should be okay. So let's take this and run it on Android so that we can check the thing that I've just talked about. So let's launch this, launch a fresh version of this on the emulator and stop that and run a new one. Hello, Seb. How you doing? And if we go to one of these and we attempt to zoom in, which is a lot more difficult on Android, and oh, the audio is going to be interesting here. So I'll stop the music for a moment and okay, that relaunched. So I'm gonna stop the music for a moment and we can see if you can hear talkback over the stream correctly. And if I can hear talkback, I guess. So I'm gonna enable it.
Off. Talkback. Windows System UI. Double tap to toggle.
Can you all hear that okay?
Name. Window KotlinConf 2025 gallery. Double tap to activate.
That works. Excellent. So because that lightning icon has null content description, when we click this,
May 23rd, 1300 to 1320. My incredible talk about Kotlin multiplatform. Lightning talk. Intermediate. Libraries.
it will read off all of the pieces of text, but it won't read the lightning icon because we're going to read lightning talk anyway. And then once we move on with our selection,
Not May 21st. Not selected. Bookmark. Checkbox. Double tap to toggle.
it will say not selected, bookmark, checkbox, double tap to toggle, which is mostly correct, except we can. So there are two very similar modifiers that we can use here. One of them is selectable and the other is toggleable. And I think this is more of a toggle. So actually this is a good fix to make this toggleable. And then the parameters are just slightly different. So its value is whether it's bookmarked, and then instead of on click, it's going to have an on value change, where it will give us what the new value should be. And we can, of course, pick a role here, but I think checkbox is probably fine. Bookmarking feels like a checkbox or a switch. Not a radio button because we only have one of them. Probably a checkbox. Hello to everyone joining in the meantime. So what's the difference between toggleable and selectable? Let's read the docs. Let's see if those will guide us through here. And actually, does this? It doesn't compare it to selectable. That's kind of disappointing. So I mean, API wise, we can see what happens between the two of them. So with selectable, its state is called selected, and then on click we get to decide arbitrarily what will happen. So it doesn't tell us what the new state should be or anything like that. It just gives us a plain lambda with no callbacks or no parameters to that callback. And then with toggleable modifier, that will actually give us a value in the on value change function, right? So I guess I broke navigation to that. So that will give us what the new value should be based on it already knowing the existing value. So it's something that can be on and off, basically. And with a switch, it could technically be, with a selection, it could technically have more states. But then even for toggleable, we have these like special versions of it, which is tri-state toggleable, for example. So these are all very, very similar. And I think the only thing that will affect what's actually being read out is the role that we set for the component. So if we rerun this, I think we'll hear something very similar to before.
Home.
Let me
KotlinConf 2025 gallery. Action. Double tap to activate.
Let me simplify our gallery a bit so that we can focus on the page title. So we'll just comment out everything else so we don't have to deal with it, and maybe increase the default zoom level.
Home. KotlinConf 2025 gallery. May 23rd, 1300 to 1320. My incredible talk about Kotlin multi-platform. Lightning talk. Intermediate. Libraries.
Okay.
Not checked. Bookmark. Checkbox. Double tap to toggle.
Not checked. Bookmark. Checkbox. That seems fine. That sounds good to me. And then of course, if we double tap the screen,
Checked.
it will go to checked.
Not checked.
Or not checked as we toggle that. And if we swipe to the right,
May 21st, 9 o'clock to 9:40. A wonderful server-side Kotlin talk. Regular talk. Beginner. Server-side.
then it does that, and
Not
so
checked.
on and
Bookmark.
so on.
Checkbox. Double tap to
So
toggle.
I think we're good there. Everywhere else, I think I've used toggleable in the code base. So if we just search for, well, now we're searching in that file because it's open. So if we search for it, we have a bunch of icons, and I've used toggleable all over the place, and selectable. Oh, right. So, that's a good example actually. So with main navigation, we have a selectable thing. So where we have the tabs of navigation, which I can pull up perhaps in the desktop version quickly. So these are selectable because one of them is going to be selected, right? Like it's a selection you make between different items. But you're not really just clicking it to toggle it. Oh, and of course, selectable stays selected if you keep clicking the same thing. Whereas with a toggleable, it would actually untoggle, but that doesn't make sense for a tab navigation. So anything that always goes back and forth can be a toggleable, and then otherwise you can use selectable. And it's for multiple elements, but it's also for things that might stay selected even if you keep clicking them. Because with toggleable, you expect it to go between true and false every time that you click it. The IDE is Fleet, so we're using the Kotlin multi-platform tooling built on Fleet here to answer that question. Of course, we're not using the previews that are built in, so we could run all of these things as a preview as well. So I could render, for example, oh no, I broke it. Okay, I don't have dependencies set correctly in this module. So we're not using the previews that are built into Fleet. I can do a desktop one, hopefully, even though the Android one is broken. Yep. So we could be using these previews, but we're going to do hot reload instead anyway. So we are ignoring some of the tooling that we have in here. Okay, what else before we get to a new component? I wanted to show one more component that I think turned out nicely. And it's a good example of just how easy it is to build stuff with Compose. So we have this filter by text component that you can see here. And basically we can just tap the header on it. It will open up and we have a bunch of categories. And this will be part of the search experience inside the app. So if we're looking for a server-side talk that's introductory and it's either a regular or a lightning session, then we could make that selection. And then if we hit search later on in the app where there's an actual search button for it, it would take all of these into account. But what I wanted to show is how easy it is to create the UI where these little chips just flow on their... Oh, that's interesting. We might not want to allow that, but it also might never happen in a real application because we won't have such long strings. That's an interesting case. I'm going to ignore that for now. That's all right. We could ellipsize it. That's all right. I'm actually going to ignore it. So it flows nicely as I'm increasing the space for it and decreasing it. Obviously, it's reacting to that. And just look at like this animation of it expanding. Oh, does it jump a bit? Oh no, there's a small jump. Oh no. Something jumps by like 1 dp when the animation is fully open. Okay, well, we'll have to debug that. But otherwise, it just appears in a very pleasant way. And we have the number, which shows the number of selections within the filter up here, right? And like, look at how nicely that just fades away to the right. And we can look at this as well. So these are all just super basic things in Compose, so like very little actual custom code. For example, that number going out to the right there is just an animated visibility, which contains a bit of spacer, and then the box, which is, well, just that circle that draws the number. And it's just a bit of customization for how it animates. So it will fade in and out, and at the same time, with just the plus operator, we can make it also expand and shrink horizontally. Hello, welcome. So that's all that's required for that fading and sliding animation, and we can customize which way it expands. So if I was to change this so that it expands towards the end, did we lose hot reload? I wonder. Let's try to make it another circle. Oh yeah, we lost hot reload. I'm gonna take a note of that. That's interesting. So let's run it again and see if it will comply with us this time. Oh, of course, it already was supposed it was supposed to be completely different by now, because we've actually changed a lot of things in the gallery. So there's a lot that we didn't see with the hot reloads. So I'm gonna put the filter back on. I'm gonna decrease the default zoom size, and we can see that that happens. And then we can see that I disabled the circle. So let's put that back into a circular shape. Excellent. Hey, now it's not jumping. Is it? No, this looks smooth. Might have been a bad build. I don't know why that was happening. I saw it jump by like 1 pixel when this thing opened, but now it seems fine. Maybe it was a rounding problem because we were at some very weird density level. That must have been it. So what I wanted to show is the fading of that number. So now that I've changed it so that it, where do I put this? Now that I've changed it so that it expands and shrinks towards the end, you can see that, well, from the end. So you can see that it slides into the other UI elements up here. And as we had it previously, we can make it slide the other way. And again, that happens with hot reload. So now it just slides out to the right. So yeah, just super nice APIs, just using the built-in animated visibility thing, and it just appears and hides based on the is expanded value. All right. So with that, we can actually go to the PR where we merged the last bit of components, because I realized that I haven't been doing the bookkeeping here to actually close all of these issues. So we're just gonna hop in there and close this one, which is the action component, empty section we have, paragraph title we have, filters we have, and page title, which is what we're looking at here at the moment. We also have that. So we can hop over to the project view and see what else is left. So the day header is also done. I forgot to close that one. So if we refresh this, we can see that the Kodi icons are on there as to-dos, but that's already on a PR. So let's see what else we can pick up. So we have things like a scroll indicator, we have the speaker cards, we have the card talk component. Let's take a look at which one of those is friendly. I need to put this side by side somewhere. So what was it? It was main header, which is this header component. So it's just like the top toolbar, and it has an embedded search in it. And if we search for main header, we can see that in action as well. So we can see that it has a bunch of different states. There's, I don't know what the bookmark icon does. What could that possibly do? Let's keep looking. So there's a bookmark icon on top of the schedule. What happens if you click that bookmark icon? With bookmarks. Oh, only bookmarks. There we go. The button in the header, if enabled, filters only for bookmarked sessions. So that's like a super quick filter so that you have a view of only things that you have already bookmarked. That makes sense. Okay. So that looks like an interesting component to build. The search part of it is interesting. Because of course we'll need to move elements out and move elements back in there. And also, if we take a look at what search looks like, there's a whole spec for just the search page. So it will of course have the toolbar, which is here on the top, but then it will also have that filter component, and it will need to combine values from both of these things. So this, I think, is a decent candidate to build. That's something we could do. Another thing that we could build, which also has an input field, is this feedback form. So basically, it's a form. It needs to have a code on it and a send button, which doesn't sound super complicated, but I think it could get interesting with sizing and things like that. To make sure that we're not typing behind Cody, for example. So that's another thing we could build. Then we have this speaker component, which is fairly straightforward. The only interesting part here is loading an image. But otherwise, I mean, it's two pieces of text. So this will be mostly an exercise in picking the image loading library we want to use and figuring out how to pick something for using like previews. And the last thing we have is the talk card component, which is going to be probably the most complex one of all of them. So these have a title, it has labels, it has speakers, it has the little rating widget, which is all of these tiny Cody faces. And if we take a look at where that's used, there is a rating thing somewhere. Feedback, there we go. So if we take a look at that, these are tappable so that you can select which whether you've enjoyed the talk or not, and then you can also hit your feedback button here, and that will give us that feedback drop down thing so that you can put in more text and send it. So this is all embedded within each of these talk cards potentially. So that's a bit complex, but definitely interesting. It also has a bunch of states, so it can show that it's a lightning talk, it can show that it's happening now, or if it's a bit later, it can say that it's in 5 minutes. So we have all of those different things that can happen down there. Luckily, some of those are reusing existing components already, so we have some of the smaller bits already in place. And I've just realized I have not put the music back on. So I'm gonna do that, and you tell me if that's super quiet or super loud. Okay, do we have anything else that's not built yet? The other thing we could do, of course, is look at the actual screens and see which ones still need some of our components before they can be built, but I think we have the buttons for the onboarding screens already. We have these settings item components already for the onboarding screen, so these could actually be built already if we wanted to pick up a screen. I think we need to do the main header. Actually, there is a header up here on the onboarding screens as well. So that would be a blocker for building that. The other static screen we have is this main info screen, which is just a bunch of the page menu items. We already have that implemented. So that's actually ready. And I think we have like about, and so we have about screens. Again, this will need the speaker component and some of these navigation buttons. and we have those already. And then we have the settings screen where we'll have to just import a bunch of drawables for like theme settings. But the switches we already have. But again, main toolbar, the main header is always there. Let's just try building that and see how it goes. So first things first, how large is this thing? It's 48 dps, so that's where we'll start. Let's pull up the running gap. I'm gonna put that here, hopefully out of the way, and we're gonna go ahead and create the main header. We can use nice light templates here to create the composable function, so we can say comp, and then that can give us a main header, and we can say prev, and that will give us a preview, which is going to be the main header preview. And I think we're marking all of these as internal, so that they're not leaking outside of the module. And main header we can add in here in the middle of our gallery as a preview. And if we hit save, it will hot reload, and well, we have the empty gallery with a zoom control. So let's create the first bit of the main header. I mean, it looks very horizontal, so we're not going to start with a box, we're going to start with a row. We can apply the modifier to it, and then other than the modifier, we can give it some height, which was again 48 dps, so it can be 48 dps high. And we can give it a background. Is there a background color assigned to it? It's just main background. So KotlinConf theme colors main background. And if we save that, it hot reloaded, but it's probably 0 pixels wide. So we're gonna make it fill the max width of the available space. And of course, I never filled out the preview. So we're gonna have to do a preview helper there, and in there actually call our component for a change. And now we've hot reloaded. So we have these beautiful blank headers in 2 different colors. Very good. We have a title here, which is a top menu title component. We already have that as a component, so excellent. We can just say top menu title, and we can say schedule, and it needs a state. Well, what kind of states does it have? Completed, or header, or placeholder. Interesting. So this all looks to be the exact same. I wonder, is this the different text? Yeah, so this is the placeholder variant of that same piece of text. But this, I mean, that's just a header style, right? I'm a bit confused about why we have 3 styles for this. Let me just check. So we have to have that somewhere in here. Top menu title, so we have these 3 different styles. So this is the header, this is the completed, and this is the placeholder variant. Oh, the completed must also be for the search input, right? So if something is typed in, if we can find that, then surely this is the completed version. Okay. We probably don't need these in a component, so we can probably refactor this a bit later and just explode this top menu title, and instead of having it as a separate component, we can just code in the entire thing inside the main header. But for now, we're gonna reuse it. And actually, the schedule text has already appeared there on the right, which is what we wanted to see up there in the header. I'm not sure if the sizing is correct, but let's align it in the middle so that we can see. So what parameters do we have for this? We want to have a vertical alignment first, so that would be alignment center vertically. Save it to hot reload, and it pops to the middle. And we can also have a horizontal arrangement. Well, we're gonna have a bunch of things, so I can't really specify an arrangement. I think we can ignore that, and we're just gonna use weights for this. So I'm gonna add a modifier here, and it's gonna be modifier weight 1. And if I save that and let it hot reload for a moment, Oh, it must not be centered. So let's go in there and make sure that this text is centered. Is that's probably part of the text style. Is that part of a text style? Whether something is centered? Align, text align is part of the text style. Okay. So I'm liking this separate top menu title component less and less, but what we're gonna do is we'll copy whatever we had based on the parameters, and we'll just make sure that that is centered. And if I save that, then it does pop into the middle. So that works at least. Is this the right size? It's supposed to be 16 dps, and really just 16? Yeah, 16 dps header 3, and this is 48 dps. For some reason it looks very small in the preview, but maybe that's just me. Again, 16, and then 48. Is that what we did? It's 48 high, and this is with the header styling, and with the header styling it's an H3, and it's 16 SPs. I mean, it's not DPs, it's SPs, but still. All right, well, let's go with this, and we'll see if we need to fix some sizing later. So that's the text in the middle, and then we have two icons on the right, which do these have? These are top menu buttons. So apparently that's a component we've already built. Excellent. So we can just go top menu button, and then one of these, well, it will have some state. We'll ignore that for now. The interesting part would be that this needs a customizable icon, which it doesn't have. So let's hop in there and see that it uses a hard-coded bookmark icon, which doesn't seem like it should be like that. So instead of that, let's take a drawable resource as a parameter. Let's start there. So this should be a drawable resource parameter, and I called it icon. So let's pass that in there, and we can take a look at the usages real quick so that we fix the previews and not break them. So that can go like that, and now we have an icon parameter. So for example, we can pass in the bookmark icon for one, and then for another one we can pass in a search icon that we hopefully have, again size 24, and those appear quite nicely. We do need some kind of spacing in here, so if we check, is there like a gap specified here? So in the icon box, I guess both are just 48 by 48 dps. But there is a gap of 10 pixels and a padding of 6. So this is 24 dps, and then padding of 6, and then padding of 6 again. And I guess the math works. So basically we just need to pad these by 12 on each side, right? So for just both of these, we can just say modifier dot padding and 16 12, I said 12 dps. So let's do that for both icons. And these things look very small. This is very suspicious. So for some reason this is sized at 30 dps. Okay, we're gonna worry about sizing just a couple minutes later. Let's put up all of the elements first. So let's put that now button there. Hopefully that's called a now button. It is. Excellent. And it has an on click, and if we just put that up there, it looks like this. And if we enable it, it will hopefully become colorful, just like that. Okay. So why isn't this left aligned, for example? Why is it not at the edge of the component? We've only wrapped it in a row, which fills the entire space. So is the now button padded by default? Let's put up one of these into the preview. Let's just put the now button down here with a couple different variants. And then if we let that hot reload, we'll see that. Oh, it's my preview. Okay, it's my preview. So this is the preview helper that's padded. Maybe it's time to change that, because that can get quite confusing. We're just gonna go padding true or false. And then we'll pass that on. Okay, I mean, okay, we can call it padding enabled. And it can be true by default because that looks nice most of the time. And then we can have a padding enabled value on the next component, and we'll only pad that if it's enabled. So if padding enabled, then 8 dps, otherwise 0. That hot reloaded, but nothing happened yet. But if we now go padding enabled false and make it compile, then okay, things actually stick to the left. And this actually also solves the height problem immediately. So that's quite good to see. If we remove these, we'll see a top bar that looks a lot like what we have in the design. So we are progressing here. Can you say hello? Hello, how you doing? It's wonderful that someone's watching with kids. That's I didn't expect that one. Okay, so let's do the icon sizing challenge. Again, each of these top menu buttons, but this component should be 48 dps. I don't get it. Is it just that I'm not supposed to add any padding to it? Should it just be 48 dps by default? Is that it? Is it as simple as that? No, because they're definitely not positioned correctly. Let's take a look at the spec for these. Okay, I think what happened is this. I think we can put a modifier on this. We can give it a wonderful red background, for example. And then we'll see the actual size of this. So I think this is sized exactly at 36 dps. If we make it selected, we'll see a circle around it. And we can see that the sizing is only sized so that it matches exactly that circle size. But that's my bad, because we can see that the component is actually supposed to have the padding around it as well. So going from 36 to 48, that's 6 dps of padding that the component itself is missing, and it's not used anywhere else, so we're not going to break it. So it needs 6 dps of more padding, and that's it. So right now it's padded internally, then it has a background color, then it's clipped into a circle, then it has a size of 30 dps. Where does the 30 come from? So the icon is 24, the box has a radius of 30 with a padding of 6. What do you mean a radius of 30? Oh, that's just a rounding. I don't need that value. It's a circle shape. I don't care about the radius value. That's what tripped me up. So the size of this should be 36, first of all, and then we add the padding onto it. There we go. This is now a class in navigating Figma designs. There we go. That's 30. That's 48 dps. So we can go back to our header. We can remove the wonderful background I've added, And this now looks like it's shaped correctly. If anything, it looks like the icons are a bit too far apart from each other with all this space that they have, but I think that's correct according to the design. Now I'm thinking the icons are a bit too large. Are they? Okay, again, this is 36. That's 48. It looks correct. Maybe the icon itself? Is the icon itself sized to 24? Let's double check that. So this entire thing is the icon. Oh, it's not. So this is reverse math. So if we have a size of 36 degrees for the circle, then for the icon to be 24, we need 6 dps of padding around it. So if I hot reload that, the icons become smaller, and now it looks correct. Pretty cool. Okay, let's start crafting the interface now that we've fixed our button. So what does this take as parameters? So it has the schedule text in the middle. I'm not gonna put a parameter for that, we're just gonna hardcode that text. Eventually we're gonna move all of these pieces of text into compose resources anyway, but we are not doing that yet, and I don't think we'll need to... Oh, we do need to parameterize it, because we're gonna use it on other screens. Okay, so it will just have a title, which is a string, and that title is gonna go right here, and we can pass in schedule for now. Then we'll need to decide which icons go on the right and whether it has the now icon here on the left. So it can also be in edit mode. This component is doing a lot, has a lot of different states. Do we build like a sealed class out of these so that... So one thing we can do is we can just add parameters for each of these icons, right? So we can have like is edit mode, and if it is edit mode, then we can display it with the back navigation, with the X, and with the input field. And otherwise we can have a Boolean flag for this and for this and for this, and we can decide whether to remove some of those elements just with separate Boolean flags, or we can have like a top toolbar state object, which is, again, can be a sealed type. So one of the states is just the edit mode, and if it's not in edit mode but it's in display mode or whatever we call it, then it could have parameters like which icons to show. This is a decent design challenge. Okay, while I think about that, I need to plug KotlinConf. So let's talk about KotlinConf for a moment, because that's what we're building the app for. So KotlinConf is happening again in next May. It's going to be in Copenhagen again. Tickets are on sale, workshops are on sale. Get it while you can. And very importantly, call for speakers is open. So if you're considering submitting something, there are only 5 days left. So please don't forget to send it in until the 30th, which is Saturday, I assume. But either way, you have 5 days left to do that. So make sure that you sort out all of your KotlinConf stuff in time. Okay. I think we are gonna start with just separate parameters and hope for the best and fix things if that design doesn't work. So we can have like a now button boolean. I mean, that's a really badly named parameter, but you know, now enabled, I suppose, and then show bookmark, and then show search, and then an is edit mode. But then for the search, we'll need an on value change, which gives the callers a string, and then we need to take that search string value as a parameter. Is this getting unmaintainable yet? So we have this X, which actually needs to close edit mode, so we need to communicate that externally as well. Oh no, sorry, this just needs to clear the input. That part is easy. This back button needs to close edit mode. And we need to communicate that to the caller. There's gonna be a lot of like state hoisting here. Why did I pick the most difficult component to build live on stream? Why? And then of course each of the buttons needs a click handler. And that would be fine. We can just hardcode that there are always only these two buttons. That's an option. Because doing it fully dynamically, like taking a list of these buttons or something and then creating a dynamic click handlers or callbacks for that, that could get very complicated. This pressed, that pressed, both of these are toggleable. Okay, I'm gonna keep going with this design, and we'll eventually hit its limits and try to move these into a state object or something somehow. But for now, yeah, we're just gonna have callbacks for each and everything in there, and that will have to do. So I'll take that entire thing and we'll copy it down here, and I'll just fill out all of these parameters. So let's create a preview where we do have a now button, where the title is schedule, where the search value, we're gonna put those down there. Actually, let's change the parameter order. So the searching things will go next to the edit mode things. Something like this, yeah. So show bookmark is gonna be true, but this also has a state. This also needs a state. Are we doing nullable boolean for this? We could have this be a nullable boolean, and then if it's null, we don't show the button. If it's true or false, we show the button. And it's either checked or not checked. I guess that's what we're doing. And then to make this nicer, we can pass back the new value as a parameter to these functions. I don't love this. We're gonna have to refactor this eventually. But first we build something that works. Let's keep going. So show bookmark is gonna be, well, now it's not show bookmark. Now it's bookmark state and yeah, bookmark icon state maybe. Let's go with that. Okay, so if now enabled, then we show the now button. Let's start there. The title is the title. It takes the title as a parameter. We can add names to all of these arguments and add a trailing comma. Then we have the two buttons. So if, what did I call this? Something bookmark related. So if this is not null, we're gonna show this icon, and whether it's selected is bookmark icon state with a smart cast. And we're gonna add names to these arguments as well. The smartcast is not displayed. I feel like there should be a thing here for a smartcast. Anyway, and let's do the other button. So if search icon state is not null, then based on the search icon state, we are gonna display something that's checked or not checked. And we can fill those out. We can create some states for these in the preview. So we can have a search icon state which is false by default, add a bunch of imports, and then a bookmark icon state. Add some more imports, add some more imports. Thanks for saying hi. Hope you are learning something. So this changes bookmark icon state to whatever it is. This changes search icon state to whatever it is in edit mode for now. Just no, please no. And we need we need another callback. We also need a callback that signals that we want to move to edit mode. Unless we don't hoist this state at all and it's just internal to the component. And the caller doesn't know if it's in edit mode or not. I'm not adding a modifier to this. Let's hot reload and see if this works. It does work. So we have a working preview. That's good. And if I click one of the icons, it doesn't toggle yet because we didn't build that out. So on select of the button, it passes back a boolean, which is very good. So this is whatever the bookmark callback is, and this is whatever the search callback is. I mean the search callback. And if we save that and it hot reloads, now if I click these icons, they actually toggle. Instead, again, with the search, we don't want it to be able to toggle. Like that's not a toggleable icon, that's just a regular button. Which is making our life complicated in more than one way. Okay. So on search click will not take a boolean. That will just call that function because we have no boolean value to pass back. And then the top menu button is, oh, this was actually implemented with clickable. Very interesting. So the thing is, with the search icon, this needs to be a clickable, which is correct semantically. But if we're using the other kind of icon, like the bookmark icon, then it's a toggleable. So that actually needs to be a toggleable based on whether it's selected, and it needs to call into select, and it needs to have a role, which is which needs an import first of all. So it needs a role, and the role is going to be, is there a toggle? I guess it's a switch. And why does this not compile? I can't see the parameter list from the app that we have running. Oh, it's value and whether it's enabled are separate. So let's just add named arguments. Not like that. So basically it just has an enabled argument. So I think I just need to pass in through there. Oh, it also has a content description. That's what we were missing. Okay, so value is selected. Enabled is this, and no, it does not have a content description. Oh, I just had mismatching parentheses. Is that it? OnSelect takes a boolean. On value change. Okay, so it was probably the parentheses and then just the fact that I didn't have the order right and I haven't named all of my arguments yet. So depending on what we're using this for, whether it's the search icon or whether it's the little toggle there, we want it to be a different modifier. So I think we just give this 2 different callbacks that the user can choose from. That's what I'm thinking. I don't know if this is pretty or not, but let's try to do this. So you can either pass in an onSelect or an onClick lambda, and then if you pass in an onSelect, it's going to become a selectable thing. If you pass in an onClick, it will become it will become a clickable thing. And I mean, we could have these as two different overloads of the same function. Do we just do that? I'm gonna add a to-do, so consider splitting into two functions. But for now, I'm gonna implement the thing that I've just said. So we'll do a modifier chain here, and then if onClick is not null, then clickable. Else, if onSelect is not null, then we're adding the toggleable modifier. Else, empty modifier, I suppose. We could also throw an exception at this point, but that's fine. Okay, so if we pass in an onClick, it's going to be a clickable thing. Otherwise, it's going to be a toggleable thing. That seems okay to me for now. So the two different types. Oh, this should be like on toggle probably. So if we toggle it, we call the bookmark click function. Otherwise, if we click it, then we click the search thing. So the bookmark is toggleable, and the search button also toggles. Oh, we didn't hot reload successfully. We really need to build the status indicator that shows you prominently that hot reload failed. So here we want to enter edit mode, basically. So edit mode is going to be false. Let's call this edit mode. And if search is clicked, then edit mode will be true. And on search cancelled, edit mode is going to be false. Maybe add a callback for that. I'm really not happy with the API design here. Again, I'm just trying to build the UI for now, and then we'll clean this up. So do we have a successful hot reload? So now clicking search should only toggle edit mode, which does basically nothing, but it actually toggles the icon. So is my code wrong, or what's happening? Let's make it so that the search icon does nothing. Let's try that. So that hot reloaded, and I'm still clicking. Okay, so hot reload is down, timestamp 8 p.m. 8 minutes after 8. Yeah, so let's rerun this. Apparently I managed to break something with all the lambdas and signature changes. Okay, that's on me. So the only reason why that didn't work is because I broke compilation in another file somewhere. And I mean, it obviously didn't have a chance to recompile that way. Okay, that's on me. Okay, so the search button is clickable but doesn't do anything. The other button is toggleable. We are making progress. All right. So on click, we still want to call into whatever callback we had for that. And then we want this toolbar to transform whenever search is clicked, right? So we want it to show two brand new icons, which are also both clickable. So it's good that we implemented that. And we want it to show a different piece of text as well. So we can probably do some kind of interesting transition here. I think we can do this within the same row. Maybe. Let's try doing that, and then we'll see how that works. So all of these things are only visible if we're not in edit mode. Let's start there. So all of our existing contents should only be visible. Oh, that breaks everything. Okay, I'm gonna put that outside of the row then. So all of our content should only be visible if we're not in edit mode. So if we click the search button, we go to edit mode. and our entire UI disappears. That's excellent. So let's keep the outer row, and maybe just put in another row in here. I'll try to do that. So just another row like this in here, and this is also centered. It doesn't need another background. It can just, it doesn't need to reapply the modifier that's coming as a parameter, and it can just fill the max size available to it. If I save that and let it reload, then it works. And if we click search, again, all of our content just flies away with the animated visibility change. Okay, so what about if we are in edit mode? So in that case, wow, that's a large piece of auto completion. Let's see what happens with that. I mean, I don't know if this search bar component even exists anywhere. Is this like a material thing? Apparently it is. That code doesn't work. Okay, a bunch of these things don't exist. Excellent. So we're gonna ignore that, and we'll just build normally. So again, 2 icons, a text field in between. So we can actually copy the icon code here. It's gonna be similar to the search icon, except we're gonna need so many callbacks. Let's not worry about that for now. So there's gonna be like a cancel or cross icon. What is this called? Close. Do we have a close icon? Yes, we do. That's good. And then the other one was an arrow left. Arrow left, 24 dp sizing for the icon. Whether these are selected, these are never selected, right? They never look selected. Wait, actually that's true for the search icon as well. So we can remove a parameter here. But then we need to figure out how to display it or not display it. That's very painful. Yeah, we really need to. Okay, I'm gonna. Okay, here's what I'm doing. I'm gonna build this with simple parameters for now, and then we'll refactor the entire API surface. We're gonna build a UI so that works, but whatever parameters are driving this, we are going to just refactor the heck out of those, because these need to become slots or something somehow. Because this signature just looks awful. So show search icon is what I'm going to call this, because we do need to know whether or not this should be shown. And basically, if show search icon, we're gonna show that. And that's it. Checking on chat. Yes, this is Compose multi-platform. So we are coding the new version of the KotlinConf app, which is actually open source. You can find it on GitHub in the JetBrains/KotlinConf app repo. And that's the existing version on the master branch. If you want to clone it, it runs on Android, iOS, desktop, backend, browser with Wasm and all of that. But what we are working on now is the KotlinConf 2025 branch. So we're building out some of the components for the next year version of the app. And right now we're just previewing individual components, but we're doing that by running a JVM app. And in there, we're using Compose Hot Reload, which is a new super experimental plugin that we have, so that as I'm saving the files, it actually recompiles and reloads the existing app while keeping the state and the running window and all that. Alrighty, so what did I copy down here? We can remove all of these if statements, and actually I can show hot reload, so I can save this and we can see that a bunch of lines are running there and that it's recompiled. Of course, we need to go into edit mode, so I'm gonna click that, and now we're in edit mode on one of the previews. Obviously, we didn't apply any weights yet, but we also need a title in here, and that I believe uses the existing component, which again, we already discussed we want to remove anyway, but that's technically a top menu title component. So we're gonna put one of those in here. And for styling, we'll call this a placeholder, and we'll just call it, what does it say? It should say type to search. So we'll type to search and save that. And that is not visible. Of course, I didn't put any of these things into a row, which is a bit suspicious. Oh, and of course we have compilation errors because again, I changed stuff. So one of these is now a different name. So this was the show search icon parameter. So if I fix that and save, now things are visible, except I wanted to set this to true so that I can actually see the icon. There we go. If we go into edit mode, excellent, we can see that everything's being rendered on top of each other. So that's when we come in here and make sure that we add a row like this, which just fills the entire toolbar and aligns things vertically. So I can save that. And we can see that we are losing some state here, right? So as I'm doing that reload, the edit mode is actually resetting. So it keeps throwing us back into edit mode false. But again, that's something that's new in this version of hot reload, that we're preferring to keep less state, and in return for that we have a fresh reload which is correct in that it reflects the current state of the code. So we are keeping less of the state. We need to reload this scope for some reason, apparently, as we're making these changes, which I feel like we maybe shouldn't need to. Like if I'm oh, I guess all of these things are inline. That's the issue. So if I were to like comment out this button, now that also reloads. So that's kind of interesting. So I wonder if there isn't a closer scope here that we could reload instead of going all the way back to the preview and losing the edit state. So I'm gonna add a timestamp for that, and we can investigate that later. In the meantime, though, we can see that we've successfully switched to edit state, and we can also hook up the close button if we have a callback for that. We have on search cancel. Very good. We could consolidate these callbacks. So we could do on search state change. Not a pretty name, but we can call that with true and false, and then we only need one callback here, which takes a boolean. And if we hop to the next errors, then we can make sure that edit mode becomes whatever was passed in there. Maybe on change edit mode, on edit mode change. I'm not sure if any of these are better, but we'll save it. We'll hot reload, and look at that. We can now navigate back and forth between the two modes. That's not terrible. That's kind of okay. Are we making good progress? I think we're doing fine. I picked way too hard of a component to build. So after this, we're building something that's like 2 pieces of text. That's for sure. But yeah, this is switching back and forth quite nicely. I mean, not quite nicely. I feel like we could do better. We can just customize these animations probably to get something nicer out of it. So let's try having it. So this is the enter animation. Let's try fade in plus vertical slide. Slide in vertically, and then for the exit, the inverse of it. Slide fade out and slide out vertically, just add the imports. So if I do that and it hot reloads, now it's kind of flying in from the top, and it's going to the left for some reason. Interesting. Maybe we can make this more stable by just adding film max size on the animated visibility so that it doesn't need to. It's still sliding around. Okay, maybe that's not the problem. Let's add the same thing to the other animation. So the non-edit UI, we're gonna make that fade and slide vertically as well. So if it reloads, okay. Interesting. Okay, so I don't like it that it's going out of bounds, so that it actually fades, like, yeah, it just like slides out of bounds. So instead of slide, I think we're gonna shrink. Shrink vertically, that exists. Sorry, that's gonna be an exit animation. So shrink vertically and expand vertically. Let's see if that reloads, how that looks. Okay, it looks a bit funny. Okay, now let's try a modifier just to make sure that all these elements stay the same size and that doesn't need to change while the animation is happening. And then we're gonna copy the same thing on the other animated visibility. Let it reload. Oh, okay. So now we're just fading. That's not terrible. That's not terrible. Is there any function in Kotlin that works like a lazy but takes time to invalidate the cache? I don't get the question, sorry. Can you elaborate on that and I'll try to answer, but I don't fully understand yet. I'm also not sure why we are not changing size. Maybe this modifier is actually a mistake and it's preventing from resizing with the animations. So let's remove that. Okay, that's fine-ish. We can maybe again customize the expand from part. So we can expand from the top. That might be right. And we can, is it shrink from? Is it shrink to? Shrink towards, beautiful parameter name. Okay, so now it's kind of taking a dive. As it's exiting. This is not quite there, but we are progressing, I think. I mean, should we just fade between the two? The other shrinking animations worked so nicely. I wanted to use the same thing here. But for some reason it's a bit more complicated. So when we're entering, we fade in. Are there other things we could be doing here? Or maybe we put one of them to the bottom. So some of the animation is just entirely skipped. Like this row is just popping immediately instead of animating. Like we can see the schedule thing collapse downwards, but for some reason this visibility shows up when it's in edit mode, fade in, fade out. Why is this no good? Okay, what if we remove this part. Actually, okay, I know what we should be doing. We shouldn't be using 2 animated visibilities for this. Oh, and they are in a row. Okay, so we have 2 animated visibilities next to each other instead of on top of each other. So let's start there. Yeah, we just do this. Suddenly everything will make sense. Ooh, look at that. Just vibes between the 2 things. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. Don't hate that. That's pretty good. Okay, let's put the search bar to the left, and I'm just gonna unwrap this component because it's helping us not at all. So I'm just gonna copy paste its entire code here, and the text will be typed to search. I guess we're doing modifier weight1 still, and then this was the placeholder style. So the placeholder is text1 style, doesn't need alignment, and the placeholder was placeholder text colored, and that's it. Any compilation errors? No. So if we save, it reloads, and now it's to the left. Very good. We are making progress. Is this a good resource to start with, or should I read the section on KMP on the Kotlin page first? Let me check which link that is. That's the KMP development portal. That's a solid resource to start with. Depending on whether you want to have native UI or shared UI, you can click into one of these tutorials and you can have, like a hands-on journey. Or if you go to, that's going in a circle. I'm not sure what the navigation loop is between those 2 things, but if you go to the Kotlin docs, then you can have the more theoretical path if you prefer learning that way. So there you can grab the introduction of KMP, and then it explains all the source sets and configuration, and then there's project structure with nice illustrations and how the code is organized and all that. So this is more of a theory approach if you go through the docs, which I think makes sense. And then the dev portal just gives you, create a project, set up your stuff, start coding. So it's just like a straight practical tutorial-ish approach. Okay. So this transition feels pretty nice. I don't think we have anything specified in the design for motion, so we'll eventually show this to our designer and they'll tell us whether they like it or not, but we have it for now. The text field is definitely not a text field at the moment. So this is just a wrapper around basic text, which is not what we need because we want to be able to type stuff in. So let's see how we can set up a basic text field. It needs a text field state, so let's start there. State, remember, do we have remember text field state? We do. Let's start with, sorry, let me try to position things here so that we can see everything. So we'll start with an empty string. We can pass this into the text field. Wait, that's it? That already creates a text field? Let's just put a modifier on it for now. Save. Again, it reloads a bit too much. Actually, I'm just gonna change it so that we're in edit mode by default, just for convenience. That's a text field. Okay, that's a start. So let's try to. Do we have a hint parameter, or what is that called? Bam, bam, bam. I feel like basic text field is not gonna have this. Input transformation, line limits, on text layout. We can customize the cursor. We can have a decorator. That's interesting. Yeah, this doesn't have like a hint that it could show. That's annoying. So we might want to build with the regular text field, or at least check its code. Does Compose support XML views, or it's all code? It's all code. So with Compose, all of our UI is written in Kotlin code, in composable functions with this declarative style. That is what we're doing for all of the UI here. Let's take a look at text field then. So let's take a look at how that works. That for sure has something like a hint parameter. I guess it's called a label. Yeah. So how do they implement label? Label is passed to a decoration box. Okay, so decoration was a good thing to add too. And we can continue tracking label, and it's content padding with or without label. That's not what we need. Where does the actual label go? Label goes into decoration box. Is this public? No. But text field defaults .decoration box is. So can we take that? Can we just decorate this with a text field defaults dot decoration box? It takes a bunch of parameters. Inner text field. This seems very complicated. Why does this have an inner text field? What do you mean? What do you mean inner text field? Where does that come from? Oh, this lambda gives you the text field? Question mark? Whoa, okay. So in here, can we just do this same thing? Is this how this works? Experimental API, sure, we can do that. My app is, whoops, my app is constantly blocking. Sorry, let me move that window back in its place, somewhere like this. So it needs an inner text field, whether it's enabled, whether it's single line. This is a lot of effort. Okay, we're just gonna go with text field. That's too much hassle. So text field has a value, an on value change, which gives us a new value. Text field value. How do we get a text field value out of a text field state? As an internal value. It's called text. And then how do we edit that text? Is it the edit function? I have not used this new text field API before. I saw it on slides. I saw a talk about this, but I haven't tried it yet. So on value change. So I guess this doesn't work because again that's a val. So we just edit to it, probably. That doesn't work. Oh, this is just unresolved. Doesn't on value change take a value? Can't we like return? Okay, there are too many overloads, probably. You know what? We're gonna make this a string. We're not gonna use the new APIs. So we'll just remember mutable state of string. We'll pass in that string and overwrite the string. And I feel like that should work. Oh, by, of course. Um, and make it a var. We're getting there. Okay, let's save that. Hot reload. We have the ugliest text field in the world because it's material in front of our own design. Yeah, I feel like we really need something in between. We kind of need a basic unstyled text field, ideally. That would allow us to set just at least a hint, because the hint is really all we need to render on top of it. Do we need anything else? Okay, sorry, I'm gonna change my mind just one last time here. I want to give basic text field another go because stripping down a regular text field just seems like so much work. So let's do a basic text field. Let's save that, and we have something relatively nice. So modifier weight 1 to push everything else to the side. And let's just try to like draw behind and like put up a piece of text there if we need. Or maybe we just put a box on top of it. How does that sound? Maybe we just put this in a box. And we go modifier, well, weight 1, fill max height. This can be fill max size then, and on top of it, sometimes we just happen to display the placeholder text that we have here. So like if state is empty string, we're just gonna put another piece of text on top of it. Let's try that. Checking on chat, do you think Kotlin should add a package private access modifier in addition to internal, since you sometimes want to restrict access to a certain package? Yeah, that's certainly a design decision in Kotlin. So ideally with Kotlin, you do use internal for that, and you just organize your code into different modules, right? Of course, depending on your project setup, it might have quite a bit of overhead to add a new module, depending on how many things you need to configure and how much your project is set up for a multi-module use. But with something like Emper, if you have not checked out Emper yet, we want to try to make it very easy and cheap to create a new module. So then something like the internal modifier can actually be used much easier. Okay, I want to put all of these things in the center of the box, rather center start. Let's see if that works. Yeah, I mean, this looks quite legit. The text field is, well, misaligned. And the type to search thing just pops out of place, which is a bit ugly, so we can try animated visibility again. Oh, I ran into this earlier. There's something weird that happens when you do that in a box, and I don't get why. Something funny happens with imports here, because we have the row scope one imported, and I guess that clashes. Yeah, there's some kind of weird import clash between different animated visibilities. I'm gonna take a note of that and look into it later, because I've seen this happen before. Right, so animated visibility, I'm just gonna leave that there. Again, if I just add an import for this, it just doesn't work for some reason. Something clashes. Okay, so if I type in something now, sorry, if I type in something now, then we can see that it disappears in a weird way. So we can again go enter. Please just fade in, exit. Please just fade out for now, and we can play with it later. So now we can just see that disappears. And then this text field, we want to do something about its sizing. So I think we want it to be full width, but we want it to just wrap its size. We also want like a max line of 1 on it. Let's save that, let it hot reload, and now if I type enough things, it will start scrolling. It scrolls in a very strange way. I don't know if that's a desktop thing, but if I just keep going, it kind of like pages as I enter too many digits. Is there a thing for that? Modifiers, textile, keyboard options. Let's run this on Android briefly to see if this is normal.
Off. Talkback. Talkback off.
I'm gonna turn off talkback for now. Okay, Android is tiny, but I am not gonna do that. So type to search. Okay, the text color is not quite there yet, and oh, I can't click into the one on the top. Okay, time to fix the text color in the bottom input field, I guess. So going back to main header, here we want to set a text color. Is that... That's not part of text style, is it? That doesn't have a color in it. How does one color a basic text field? We have a brush for the cursor. I can change that color. Oh, there's also single line. Yeah, we can just use single line instead of max lines. That's true. Oh, does it also change the scrolling behavior? I wonder. Oh, yes, it does. Okay, so that's fixed. Okay, so that wasn't a desktop problem. I just need to set single line. Thank you. That's an excellent hint. Okay, we need to color the text here. I can't believe it's not trivial to change the color here. Color. Cursor brush, yeah. Text style. That applies at the character level, such as color. I guess text style must include color then? Oh, it does. Okay. Interesting. So let's check what the design says here. So we need to go to the search bits. Where is it? Search. And whatever is typed in. Here we go. So this is text color primary text in the design. So I'll set a text style, which is the type is text1 and then primary text. So it's KotlinConf theme, typography, text1. And then we can copy it and set the color on it, which I now found out that that's a thing we can do. And it was primary text colored. So if I save that, give it a moment to hot reload, then it actually is colored with the appropriate styling. Okay, is this the correct weight? This is supposed to be a weight of 400. If we go to text1 and we look at its definition, it doesn't have a font weight, which I think means that it has the default, which should be like font weight normal, and that's indeed 400. So that's fine. Looks a bit funky in the preview, but I think that works. All right. let's start putting this state outside of the component. So let's make sure that our callers can use the search state. So instead of having this string remembered here in the middle of our function, let's start calling functions for it. I'm gonna collapse some of our code so that we can navigate it easily. So this is gonna be called the search value, and then on search. What did I call this callback? On value change. Okay, we're gonna rename it on search value change. That works. Again, the signature of this function is all over the place. Please ignore it for now. We're gonna clean this up. And then animated visibility is based on just whether the search value is empty. And that reloads. We lose the state, but that's okay for now. And I can't type anymore because we have this hard-coded. So search value can be an empty string like this. We can pass it as a parameter, and when it changes, we just update the search value. And another hot reload. And I broke it. I wonder if I interacted with the component in the middle of a hot reload, but we managed to crash hot reload. We are almost 2 hours in, and the only hot reload problem we had was, I think it was just that I wrote code that didn't compile. This is our first crash. Again, this is super early experimental stuff, and it works very solidly already. Okay, testing. This seems to work just fine. That's quite nice. And then of course we can still go back to the whole thing. Oh, that's not what the X should do. That's what the back button should do. Okay, I forgot about what each of our buttons is supposed to do. So it's the back button that should take us back. So that's gonna be this one. This should also have a content description. And this should probably be a clear input button, right? So this should do an on search value change to empty. And if we hot reload that, then we can try typing in hello, and the back button will take us out of there, and we can go back in there with the search button, and the X will clear the input. That's beautiful. That button works, that button works. Okay, very good. So one more thing we can do is whenever we navigate back, we probably also want to clear the search input. So we can do those with 2 callbacks. So after we navigated back, we can also make sure that we just reset the search value. So if we, let's say that we start from here, we click search, we type hello, we navigate out, we click search again, and then we can have an empty input field. We should also grab focus here, which I'm now realizing. So as we open this edit mode, we should put focus into this text field. Also, the cursor isn't visible on desktop. We really need to build this for Android. So I want to see if on Android we can see the cursor in dark mode. Actually, we cannot. We can already see that that's blinking black. So we don't need to wait for the build. That means that we do need to go to the text field, and there was a cursor brush, and we're just gonna set that to a solid color, which is the same as the input color. Perfect auto completion there. So if we hot reload, we can now see that we have a white cursor. Very nice. Where was I going with this? We wanted to set focus. That's something I don't know how that works. So that's gonna be interesting. I bet it's a modifier of some sort. So for example, we could, mark this with focusable true. That's a modifier. Make it focusable within its bounds. of course, surely this is focusable by default, right? Because it's a text field. So that's probably something that it already does internally. Someone's saying focus request. That sounds familiar. Right. We can do a focus requester. Let me just try reading the docs for once. Let's try that approach. So let's go compose focus request. Just RTFM. Okay. So we need to remember a focus requester. And then we put that on whatever we want to focus. And does that just happen on its own? Question mark. I know we can, yeah, we can, okay, we can call capture focus on it, or we can call request focus from like an effect, which certainly complicates things. Making it focusable, making it unfocusable, requesting keyboard focus. We can do it like on click. Yeah, I think we'll just need to call that function. Okay, so we need a focus requester thing, that's for sure. So we'll need one of those. We also need to link this to the text field. So focus requester is focus requester. Join lines. And then, oh, I've just realized I don't have the thing on to show key combinations. That's something we can put on a stream, so that when I use the join lines shortcut, you can see what the shortcut is. So we need to request this at some point. I mean, I guess this is going to be an effect. I don't see another way of doing it. So whenever we come into edit mode, we want to run that. Okay, so it's not happening yet. And if I put like a launched effect in here, which is keyed to whether we are in edit mode, and I just request focus, I mean that should work, right? Like as we're entering edit mode, it puts focus in there. So that part is fine. If I hit the X, we lose the focus. That's annoying. That shouldn't happen. Ideally. I suppose I can just do that by making this focusable false. So then if we go to search, we have the focus here, and if I hit X, no, I just have to manually put focus back. So whenever I clear the search field, I can just use the focus requester and request focus again. Except I need to put it in a scope where that's visible. So we come in here, we have focus, I hit X, we still have focus. That seems like what should happen. I don't know how ugly this is. Is this multi-platform supported? Yes, we're actually running this as a JVM app here, but we can also run the same thing on Android, for example. So yeah, we're building for multi-platform here. I only have preview apps running because we're only building components for now. We don't have any actual screens yet, but we will have this running on web with WASM, on Android and on iOS. Seb, who builds the whole compose hot reload thing, has logged an issue just now and linked it into chat. Thank you. That's responsive. You can request focus after the composable is positioned in on globally positioned. Okay, but is that better than this launched effect though? because this will only run once, right? We are in animated visibility is edit mode. So whenever we come in here, is edit mode is going to be true. This will run once, and it will never run again because is edit mode, if it changes, we just get out of this composition entirely. So I'm kind of okay with this for now. I mean, it works, you know. Primarily it works. And it seems to work reliably. Clearing, I can spam that, it doesn't break. I can navigate back, navigate here. All of this seems fine. We might run into accessibility issues, so once we start testing this for accessibility, we'll see how navigable it is, if the focus is stuck in some weird place when we do this. But for now, this seems pretty okay to me. Do we have... so the input, I think, is basically done for the search. I think that's done. Let's see if this now button is connected to anything, because I suspect it might not be. Yeah, we're just doing nothing with it. So let's do on click, and well, we don't have anything for this. We can do this. We can do a nullable callback for this. I don't know how much I like the idea of. Yeah. This is such a weird complex component to build. Okay, so this is gonna be on now clicked. Again, just going with the bare minimum. I was thinking we could make this a nullable lambda, and then we only show the button if someone provided a click listener. You know, like we could make this nullable and the null by default like this, and then basically if on now clicked is non-null, then we can show the button and just delegate to on now clicked. And then of course we need to update this call here, and I guess we do nothing. That's an interesting question. Let's take a look at where is our design. There we go. Let's take a look at what that now button will do real quick. So here we can see that there's nothing up there, so the now button is just missing in this state. And now it's up there. So this happens when there is an event on. So one of the events is at the current time, but it's visible. So in this case, you don't want to hit the now button because this is already on screen and we can see whatever is happening. But if we scroll elsewhere, so if something's active, you know, like all the way down here, but the scroll position is up here, then the now button will point down for us. So essentially, this now button will keep changing states. Oh, it has another state. It has another state. That's even more state. So the now button can either not be there if we're not on the current day, then it's just not going to be there. Or we might have a scroll position where the currently active event is visible. In that case, the now button is inactive and not clickable, or we might be scrolled elsewhere and then the now button is active. Actually, if we are... Okay. So if we are scrolled further down than current time on the schedule, the now button should actually be pointing up. That's something I don't have implemented yet, because then it should show, you know, like navigate upwards to current time. Okay, it's time to blow some of these things up because this is getting unmanageable. But we'll have to connect this with whatever screen surrounds it. It's just hard to imagine the appropriate API for now. But I want to create a slot for the now button. Let's start there. So that's just going to be a slot. So Now button will be a composable function, which is, yeah, I suppose nullable works, so that we don't have to handle any of its state within our own thing. So if now button is not null, then this is where the now button goes, and this way the caller can handle whatever they want with an arrow pointing up or down, or the now button can be active or not active or whatever. So that's going to be a now button, and it can have its its callbacks and states and whatnot. We can simulate some of this, so we can create a boolean for it where it's active by default, and then whenever we click it, we can just flip that state so that we see something. We can see something happening, and if we hot reload that, yeah, that works. So we clicked it, and then it transitioned to being inactive. We have to work on that animation and a bit probably. So if we click this, yeah, it lags a bit. That could be nicer. Why is that not nicer? Because the now button is a row with a piece of text and animated visibility, and the way that they are kept apart is by spacing. So what happens is, when I hope all of this is visible. It is, okay. So when I click this, the icon animates out because animated visibility removes it, right? So the icon animates out, but then there was a 2dp spacing between the text and the icon. So when that happens, the spacing is no longer needed and it's just removed instantly. We can see that if I click this. So it goes whoosh, and then it just pops over by 2dps. So an easy solution for that is to take that 2dp spacing and basically just put that into the animated visibility. So we can make this a row of things, which is gonna have a spacer that's modifier width. We're going horizontal, so that's modifier width 2dps, and whoops, and we can take that whole icon and put that inside the row as well. So if we hot reload that, then now the state was actually maintained, so I have to navigate away and back. So now that animates away cleanly. That's very nice. And of course we can see that whenever the now button is disabled, it's actually not clickable. We can just make it so that it's always clickable for testing purposes now. So I can click on it and animate it back and forth. And that seems pretty clean. We like that. And then we can write that back to the original code. Okay, so that's a now button. Obviously, its state should be managed somewhere higher up, because we could see that just going to edit mode makes this, it pulls this content out of composition, and then it was creating the state again. So ideally, the caller will pull that state out somewhere like that. It would be good to have an edit state as well. So just a state holder that holds onto the search value somehow, but that's not super ugly. The edit mode boolean flag, I don't necessarily hate. Maybe the ordering of these parameters is not great. Maybe like this. That makes sense. We have a slot for the now button. What if we create slots for the icons on the right? I think I like that, and actually it makes no sense to call this slot a now button. So this is just gonna be what does like a material toolbar use for this? This must be like a starting and trailing slot or something. So let's look at toolbar. What is the thing called that you put into a scaffold? Top bar. Okay. Top bar. top app bar. And then it has navigation icon and actions as 2 slots. Okay. Those are useless to us, but that's fine. So okay, well, we'll need to do something about the edit mode as well, but we do need 2 slots like this, essentially. So instead of navigation icon, this is going to be I don't know, content start content and end content or something. We're gonna import row scope. Yeah, that seems fine. And then here we can just emit the start content. We can have the title in the middle. And then all of this stuff can just be the end content, right? And then the challenge, of course, is that these now have to be provided here. So the start content is the now button. That's fine. And then the end content is whatever I've copied here. So that's the menu button for once, and then the other menu button. And these no longer have good click listeners. So whenever the bookmark is clicked, we want to flip that state. Why is this unhappy with us? What's wrong? This is not a composable lambda. That's curious. Probably just like parentheses problems. Comma. Ah, there we go. Okay, okay. And then whenever the search button is clicked, we just go edit mode equals true. And I think this means that we can remove all of this and probably on edit mode change. Probably that as well. I'm just trying to clean up all of the callbacks that are not needed anymore. We can see that all of these are unused. Oh, we still do need a callback for whenever we hit the X. So on edit mode change still needs to do something. Show search icon doesn't exist anymore. I think that's a compilable state. So let's run that. Hot reload. Hot reload still works. We can click the now button. We can click the little bookmark thing. We can click search and it takes us to search. And we can type things in and we can hit the X and it clears the input. That all works fine. Okay. What if we also changed the start and end content dynamically just in here? That would get complicated, wouldn't it? So either we can pass in like a separate edit mode start content lambda that we switch to, or we can have a single one, and then in here we can go if edit mode, then show this, otherwise show that, and basically push all of the responsibilities of animating between these different pieces of content to the call side. And that seems just a bit complicated. So let's try an approach where we put all of these things into slots. So let's create 2 more slots for edit start content and edit end content, and create those as parameters. So next to the regular ones, we also want to have an edit variant of this and an edit variant of that. And then we no longer, well, we still need to know whether we're in edit mode, which isn't really edit mode. Edit is just bad naming here. This is just search. Should that entire search field thing be just a separate slot? Yeah, it's very hard. We can have so many choices here. We could grab anything here and extract it into a slot. So really it's just a problem of having a lot of different possibilities. is search mode. Let's do some more renaming. Okay, I'll try to go with this though. Let's try to extract those two pieces of like things before and after the search field. So search start content will be this button, and we're gonna move that down here. Of course, I've called everything edit, so that's actually search start, that's search end, and whenever, yeah, so this changes edit mode to false, and it changes search value to empty. Yeah, I don't know if this is worth pushing to the call site, or if this should be contained by the component. This is a, again, I picked a very complex component to build on stream. It's not exactly ideal. Search value should change to, oh no, we need to request focus. We're gonna need to request focus from the call site. Okay, we've coded ourselves into a corner here. So what we could do is request focus every time the input changes, but I don't like the idea of that. This was going so well as well. Okay, so maybe we take the entire search contents and move that into a separate, easy to use component, which can manage its own state if necessary, but we can also just hoist the state out of it. Oh, that's awkward. Okay, we're just gonna undo a lot of things. So we're just gonna undo until those two parameters are gone. And we're gonna remove the idea of those parameters, and we're gonna save this and let this hot reload and see if we have a build. We have a build. I mean, this works very nicely right now. So this is basically a fully functional component. It's just I just don't like how to access it, basically. Like the call site is not pretty. So we have the things on the start of the header, we have the things at the end of the header, we have the thing in the middle, and then these things are required for the search. It's not terrible, but it's also not great. But I think we're kind of stuck here with design decisions, and there's a lot of thinking to do on how to implement things. So I think we call it here for this component, and we move on to something else. Actually, let's do the now button. So I've just realized that now button might need to be pointing upwards, right? Because we might need to scroll up based on what the current time is, whether we're before or after the current time. So let's go to the now button and make that arrow rotatable. Let's check the specs real quick. So we go to the now button. Where is it in the design? Well, of course I lost it. It's going to be at the top. Now button. Yeah, so there's no design for this, but I assume it should point up if we're supposed to scroll up to reach the current time, and that's a state that we can get in. So let's see the icon sizing here, just to double check it since we're already here. That's a 16 by 16 icon, which is correct. Arrow down, that looks all good. 16, arrow down. There's a filled version of this. That looks like a much heavier icon. Is that too heavy or not? Hard to say. Yeah, that is too heavy. Okay. So we're going with the no fill variant. I thought I could code this without looking at it. So we're going with the no fill version. Where is it? There we go. Okay, that matches. That looks nice. So let's make this point upwards. So enabled, and then I guess we can give it like a direction. And surely this should be a boolean. Again, this is like a 3-state thing, right? Like it's either enabled up or down, or it's null. Do we want to do a nullable boolean? Probably not. Let's create an enum. So let's do the now button state and like before or current or after, depending on what the time is. And then we can pass that in like this. And so it's enabled if it's not at the current time. So if the time is not current, then it has to be enabled and it needs to have a certain color. Let's do an import. And if the time is not current, it has to have the colored background, and it has to be clickable if the time is okay. We clearly need to extract this. Select 2 more occurrences. Yes. So whether it's enabled, it's going to be this value. And let's change the gallery real quick so that we can test all of these. So instead of the main header, I want to see the now button. And we have 3 states now, right? Before, current, and after. So it's before, current, or after. Hot reload. I bet it just doesn't compile. It must be that I broke a file somewhere. Because we didn't get a reload. But what did I break? How will we find out? I don't want to rerun the app because I want to see that hot reload continues working. What did I break? Let's try doing an Android build, and that will fail, and then we'll find out where the compilation problem is. So there's our build. There we go. Oh, okay, obviously the main header uses the now button, which we had. So let's hard code that to after so that it will point downwards, and then let's just make it do nothing for now. And if I save that, bam. Okay, class redefinition failed. Attempted to change superclass or interfaces. Look at that debug UI though that we get. I did not know that this existed. That's beautiful. I wonder where I changed the superclass or interface. We're gonna note the crash time. And we created an enum. That's the most class-related thing that we did. We created a new enum. Maybe that was it? Okay, let's see if we can recover this. So now I bring in the tooling window, which we didn't need for this entire thing. We can try to clean composition. That doesn't do anything. We can try to retry failed. That also doesn't do anything. So we are, in fact, in a broken state. So we need to exit the app, and then we can relaunch it. So we did something interesting enough that we actually broke hot reload, which is supposedly the point of this stream. So now we have a new version where we are previewing the now buttons, which is correct. And now we need some conditional logic to flip this arrow around. So, I mean, either we can actually rotate the arrow, or we could, or we can just swap the resource, assuming that we have a separate resource for drawable arrow up. I mean, we do. It feels more efficient to just rotate the arrow, right? Let's do that. So again, I'm typing behind my preview here. Let me undo this. Now I don't know if I removed the fill color or not. I didn't. Good. So can we just rotate this? I guess it takes a modifier. So rotate if the time is before, then we don't need to rotate it because it needs to point down. That's correct. Otherwise, if we're after, we do need to rotate it by 180 degrees. Save. Hot reload. Bam. Now it's rotated. Easy as that. Could UI development be any more convenient, huh? Yeah, so if we're before, arrow points down. If we're at current time, it's not available because we're looking at it already. And if we're after it, it's an arrow that's pointing up. Yeah, that seems fine. Okay, so we sort of built the header. Oh, I was not a good developer, so I did not take the issue from the board. So main header I'm working on. Let's convert that into an issue and assign it to me so that we communicate. Feedback form suddenly seems like a challenge. I don't know if you want to do that today. Card talk we're definitely not doing. And then it's like start building screens. So we're quite close to having all of the components. We just need to polish them a little bit. Okay. Let's look at that speaker component. We'll need that eventually, and I think that's super easy to build. We can play a bit with loading images, but otherwise that's an easy component to build, and we can do that in like half an hour tops, and we can wrap up the stream. So we want to build this component, which is called just speaker.kt. Almost. Let's delete that. Try again. Speaker.kt. Component is called speaker. Its preview is called speaker preview. Its preview is internal. We can go to the gallery. SSW speaker preview. And we can go back here. Make sure that we use our little preview helper function for both themes. And then we call the speaker function, which is essentially a row, an image, which doesn't exist yet, and then a column with like 2 pieces of text. Those are some decent auto-completions. So it looks like this, name, company, whatever. And I mean, image, I don't know what we're doing there yet, but we're just gonna go with a box, which is whatever size, just so we're showing something, make it nice and red. Hot reload. Yeah, that's getting us somewhere. Let's check sizing. So first of all, speaker image is 96 dp, so that's 96. Then we have this row with 12 dp, and wow, that's very large. 96. Yeah, 96. It also has a radius. Let's do the radius. So background size, we can clip this to like a rounded corner shape. Radius of 8 dps, was it? Radius of 8, yes. So I said there's a 12 dp padding and a 12 dp gap on here. So first we can do a 12 dp padding, and then we can do horizontal arrangement spaced by 12 dps. That's correct. Let's add some more names like that. And if we reload, we can see some padding, and we can see the we can see everything taking place. We should center things vertically, so vertical alignment, just like center vertically. Yep. And hot reload that. Very good. And then this is a header 3, and that's a text 2 in terms of style. So let's use our own styled text component and header 3 and text 2, right? So style is KotlinConf theme, typography, header 3, and the other one I said is a text 2, and we're gonna format, and we're gonna put down trailing commas, and we can see hot reload chugging away at this comfortably. Colors are primary text and secondary text. Primary is the default, so we just need to do secondary text for the second thing. So this is secondary text. I mean, we can also make it obvious that this is primary text colored and save it. And that worked. And let's take a look at some of the copy here. So it should be name and title. So I mean, let's put those into parameters first of all. So it's going to be name and title. We also have a modifier parameter by default, which is good, but we should apply it. So we make sure that we chain everything else in the root node here, which is the row, onto that parameter. Looking at the chat, catching up, do you use Fleet also for normal non-KMP projects? What's non-KMP? Is it just JVM? Is that the idea? For JVM projects, if that's the question, I would probably be using IntelliJ. That's still the go-to IDE for anything Java ecosystem. Whether you're writing Java code, whether you're writing Kotlin code with like a Spring backend or something, that's what I would do. If you end up committing code on stream, can you go through what you're doing? Oh, I do very messy things with commits. I do a lot of merging and cherry picking and rebasing branches on top of each other, because usually we build up this pipeline in the project where we have these component 3, component 4, component 5 branches on top of each other. And I usually just open Android Studio for that because it has like this huge Git integration and I'm very comfortable working with that, right? So here I create commits, maybe, but in Android Studio is where I actually clean that up so that by the time it lands in on GitHub, it looks somewhat sorted. Again, primarily because we are implementing like 12 different things at the same time here. So we've been creating a couple commits, but I haven't created a commit in like 2 hours. So we should do like partial commits, and probably I want to reorder stuff, maybe put it on separate branches. So it gets complicated. Anything I do on the stream needs to be cleaned up afterwards. Oh, normal, just Android apps only. I mean, yeah, sure, you can just use Android Studio, probably. It's really up to you. There's a lot of Android-specific tooling in Android Studio, but Fleet, gives you a nice minimal place to work in. If you want hot reload, your best bet is running it on desktop. So there's that. Okay, name and title. Let's see if AI suggests a name. It just says name. Excellent. There we go. So that's looking okay layout wise. I don't like the spacing between the lines, that's for sure. So let's revisit that. Is there, I mean, these are just stacked on top of each other, except there is some kind of line height between them. But I guess this is this frame and it doesn't have a gap between the two. I think this is really not supposed to break into multiple lines. I think that's the idea. So maybe we just single line that and never allow it to break into 2 lines. Except here it is. Okay, so we do need to prepare for this. There's no gap in between. So this is a problem where we ran into this on the previous stream, where in Figma you can just do a line height and that just kind of adds automatic padding to your text. So I think we're gonna eyeball this one. So we'll put a spacer in here and we'll make it, 8 dps. That looks pretty okay. Maybe we can try 6. That also looks okay. Let me measure this. 27, 20. Yeah, I think that's what we're going with. This looks decent for a speaker thing. By the way, the data here is just random speakers from last year. Just to clarify that. Let me catch up on chat. Kind of want to switch to Fleet, or at least give it a try. I already tried it with KMP, but gotta try Android-only app. I mean, it will obviously work for Android-only apps, right? Like if a KMP app works, an Android app will work. Please do try it. We want to hear your feedback. There's an issue tracker. You can file things. You can complain on the Kotlin Slack if you find anything. So please do try it. We are building a bunch of tooling in here. Still makes my MacBook overheat with KMP projects. I spend 50-50 time between Android Studio and Fleet. Yeah, there's definitely some optimization we still need to do on the Fleet side. It is using a lot of, it can properly saturate cores with all of the things it's doing, but it's probably also doing a bit too much at the moment. So we're trying to cut down on some of the indexing and optimize some stuff. It is, of course, in early preview, so it will get better than this. But usually, like the intense use of the CPU should just be the project import and indexing, and after that, it, at least on my machine, it calms down. Looking forward to going to KotlinConf again. Excellent. That's good to hear. That is why we are here, after all. I should really advertise KotlinConf more and better on this stream. So again, what we're tinkering with is actually the app for next year's KotlinConf. So if you don't have a ticket yet, grab a ticket. If you don't have a workshop ticket yet, check out the workshops. There's coroutines, there's Kotlin multi-platform, there's Compose multi-platform, with me and other advocates and engineers on all of these workshops. So check all of that out. And if you're the sort of person who gives talks sometimes and you have an interesting Kotlin story to share, we have 5 days left on the CFP. So please don't forget to submit until the deadline. I know CFPs are hard. I also put them off until the last minute, but please don't forget to submit a talk for KotlinConf. Right. So back to our design. We have our pieces of text. So that's all fine. We can double check that this is what it's supposed to look like in dark mode. That seems okay as well. Something interesting to set up would be some image loading. So I don't know how this worked in the previous app. So we kind of have the code of the previous year here in the shared module still. We're no longer using it, but we have it. So I reckon we can just search Discord for speaker and probably find whatever data classes we were using. Yeah, it's a photo URL. Okay, so that's just going to be a URL string. That's pretty good for us. We can create a component that does the same thing. So name, title, and photo URL. And instead of this box that we have up here, keyboard layouts. So instead of this box that we have up here, we should load an image. Let's see how we can do that. So for this, we would want to use coil. Let's see if this can be an implementation dependency. So do we have libs coil? We're not getting real completion for it. It's only AI completion. So maybe we don't have this. Our version catalog has a lot of things in it. I know that. But it doesn't have coil. Does it have camel? It doesn't. Camel, no. Oh, it has something called image loader. What's image loader? It's a compose multi-platform. It's not Picasso, come on. Maybe it uses Picasso. So it's a compose multi-platform image loading library. This must have been multi-platform before Coil, and I assume that's why we have it. It says it's similar to Coil. Okay. I think we're just gonna go to Coil. So let's see what we need to grab there. Quick start. Quick start is exactly what I want. So we're just gonna copy these lines. We're gonna move this to the catalog, and we're gonna move this to the catalog. That works very nicely. And maybe we want to clean it up so that it's not underexposed. So yeah, for images, actually, let's see if the original image loader is used. It's no longer used, so we're gonna drop that. Remove image loader, put the coil version, maybe with all of these other libraries, rename it to just coil. That seems to continue to work. So let's save this file and import the Gradle project. And then I don't know how to use coil off the top of my head, of course. So we're just gonna hop back over there, and it's just async image model. Okay. Easy enough. Wow, something didn't work. Oh, right. We had the dependency on that image loader. But probably that's it. Gradle import. Let's go. Failed again. Is there a platform that we have that Coil doesn't support? Does it not have web support yet? Interesting. Do we have a list of platforms somewhere? Yeah. Platforms. Upgrading. Full support, all targets. Android, iOS, JVM, JS, and WASM. But okay, HTTP is a bit suspicious, isn't it? That's probably not right. Yeah, okay, so we just need to pull in a Ktor client because we need the network client to be multi-platform, of course. So instead of OK HTTP, we're gonna pull in. Whoops. Oh, I'm breaking things. Okay, so we're gonna pull in Ktor 3. We're gonna remove the OK HTTP version of that. Okay. And now we'll have to add engines, right? So we need like Ktor dot client dot whatever it is on all of the different platforms. Okay, this is a bit tedious, but I get why it doesn't ship with something by default. So let's go and pick our favorite engines, I guess. So we'll need an engine for JVM. That's going to be OK HTTP. We'll need an engine for Android. We'll need one for iOS. And we'll need one for JS, I assume. So let's try pulling one for each of those. So for JS, it's the JavaScript engine. Very good. I'm going to quickly define a Ktor version variable here. We'll move this to a catalog in a bit. I just want to make this compile. Oh, we need the Ktor version. GitHub Ktor releases. 301 sounds perfect. So we're going to use that version, and then we start picking clients. So again, the JS client we already have. We need Darwin engine for iOS. We need, I'm going to go with OK HTTP for this and this. And we can attempt to do a Gradle sync. Do we need a separate engine for WASM, I wonder? And Ktor has WASM support now, I can see that. I don't know what the dependency required is, or if it just picks up the JS one. Unclear. But we're downloading a bunch of things. Or configuring the project model or something. So remember when I said that we can build this in like 30 minutes because it's the simplest component? I wish there was something that just added, you know, like reasonable default config for coil like this. I get why it's decoupled. Like, it's super nice that you can pick your own engine completely. But, you know, it would simplify our lives a bit if some of these things were default. And now we're indexing. Choo-choo, let's go. We can try running this probably on Android. That way we can at least see if our code compiles. Oh, did I complete the code even? Async image. I need to import it. Otherwise we're good. And of course we should use the... Oh yeah, my code definitely doesn't compile. So this is photo URL, and we should pass one of those in. The question is, where do we get a nice photo URL? If only we had a good photo from somewhere. There's a photo URL. Well, build successful. That's a good step. And it crashes. Boom. Oh, check that out. It's the oldest problem in the book. Permission denied for Android. Okay then. Oh, wrong scope. So obviously we don't have an internet permission, because it wouldn't be funny if we didn't forget that. Hold on a minute. Why do I not get completion for this? Oh, that's broken. That's a bug report. I'll take a note. Internet permission. Autocomplete for manifest. That's annoying. Android internet permission. How hard could it be? There we go. Oh, it's not. Oh, it's not permission. It's uses permission. That's what my problem is. Internet. There we go. It's been too long since I had to write this. Thank you. Got it. Got it. Bam! It's an image loader. We still have a red flashing box, which I don't love. So let's take care of that. So basically just move this down here and remove the box. Sorry, we also need the size before I lose that. So we're gonna size this and clip it, and that's it. And we'll save that. And I mean, now our code compiles, so I feel like our hot reload should work. If we change something, do we see hot reload reacting? We do not. So why isn't hot reload reacting? Can I clean composition? Can I retry? That doesn't help. So we did, I know we did a lot of work, but I wonder if we can hot reload this without actually closing the app now. The question is if anything will. Oh, now I'm typing into the text output. So if anything, we'll make this hot reload. So can we type in a text here and make that work? Apparently not. So either our desktop app doesn't compile at the moment for some reason, which we can't see in the current file, or we've just broken hot reload again. Or, well, maybe for the first time. I don't know anymore if we actually broke it. But I'm gonna rerun it and we'll see. Maybe it can. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so it couldn't handle adding all of these things. That seems kind of fair. That seems all right. Yeah, I mean that's the speaker component. That seems to work just fine. Now that we have an internet permission. Yeah, okay. We're hot reloading. We have the images. We probably need to refine at some point how the image loading works and have at least some kind of placeholder there. This just takes a painter. Is there something for this in our design? Or no? I assume there isn't. I think the design leaves it up to us to provide a placeholder. So let's take a look at maybe some of the colors we have. Well, we have the main background, we have the tile background. Let's try a broken URL. Will hot reload do this for us? Will it break the image? It apparently doesn't. What if I use another URL which is a valid one? Let's take another photo from. No, that doesn't hot reload. And if I change the string? Interesting. Oh, build failed. Wait, I broke the build. My placeholder thing is okay. So now my test is off. So let's go back to the. Oh, okay. There's a hot reload. Okay. So if I change the URL, it does reload it. Okay. That part is fine then. So I wanted to again break the URL, see what happens. Hot reloads to emptiness. That's good. So let's put in a placeholder. Draw Kodi with Canvas APIs. Wow, we don't need. We do have Kodi on hand. That's a pretty fun idea, actually. So we can do. I don't know what the API for this is off the top of my head anymore, but we do have a file full of Kodis. So we can do. We have a couple different Kodis. I think we want the largest ones, which are just PNGs. So that's an image resource. So we can do image resource, res, drawable, and a positive Cody, probably. What do you mean you can't find placeholder? You just offered this to me. Placeholder? Was that just AI completion and I wasn't paying attention? No, there's a placeholder parameter. It just needs to be a painter. That's probably the problem. So this is an image bitmap and I need a painter. Is it just a matter of doing that? Or is it a matter of doing this? Okay. So we saw it for a moment. Cody was there. Is there a separate error one or something? Let's check the signature. There's an error painter and a fallback. That's a lot of different painters. I mean, obviously the error painter is gonna be Cody emotion negative, right? If we error out, we want to set Cody. Okay, no, that will look awful in the app. We can't do that. We can probably put a background on this, by the way. So we can go like KotlinConf theme, colors, and then okay, active background is not it. So main background would be the same. Let's try primary. Oh, that's also one of the colorful ones. Tile background is probably it. That's some kind of gray, right? Okay, that looks good. That looks good. That's good. Yeah, placeholder is only while loading apparently. I mean, we can just use the same Cody everywhere, right? So if the image just doesn't load, then we can just do a Cody. Bad URL for one, and then we can have another one, which again is something that will actually load. Excellent. There was also one more, which is a fallback. So what does fallback do? When the request's image request data is null. I don't know how that would happen. I don't think that happens if we just pass in a string. Okay, we have modifiers, alignment, content scale, and so on. What's the default content scaling? Fit. I assume fit is correct, right? Oh no, it's equal to or less than the corresponding dimension of the destination. That's not what we want. So we want content scale crop, just in case we have an image that's, you know, not the right ratio. We don't want it to have like letterboxing or anything. So we want to go in there and set content scale crop. I think that will crop our Cody actually. It doesn't. Oh, the Cody image must actually be square. I don't know what its dimensions are, but it's probably square, just transparent. Okay, the Cody we have is not the worst thing that can happen. Now what I do want to see is how this works when we first load this. So how can we emulate that easily? I'll just put a button up here. So we're gonna go clicked by remember mutable state of false. We'll create a button. It will toggle the clicked state. It will have a text which just says click. Perfect button design. We're gonna import all the things. We're gonna... Am I off by parentheses? What did I do? Oh, we were using our own button, which has an unexpected, okay, signature. I was using that instead of material icon. So this takes actually just a string and an on-click function. Maybe we should redesign this so that it matches the material expectations. Either way. So based on clicked, and then I want to do if clicked, I want to start loading the images so that we can reload this and click the button. Oh, that just caches. Damn it. Okay, we're gonna quit the app. Now I have to rerun it because we have to clear coil caches. And hopefully that's not on disk, because then we'll never find it. So I can go click. Ah, that loads so fast. What do I need to do to slow down coil so that I can see how it loads on like a bad network? Anyone know if coil has something for that? To just like simulate loading slowly? Because I'm interested in seeing the transition it's doing between the different things that pop up. Image requests. Extending the pipeline. I think we could probably build an image loader that just does like a thread.sleep or something. Or like a coroutine delay, because it's a coroutine image loader after all. Testing, there we go. Import the testing library. That's actually pretty nice. So that would be an option. We could use an Android emulator and simulate slow network. Yes, although I would probably want it to be even slower than like a simulated slow network. I don't know how large this image is, but I don't think it's very large. Okay, maybe we just assume that this works nicely for now. At least we have something showing up if it errors out. And this Cody is pretty okay. What does neutral Cody look like, just for the record? Oh, we can't see it because it's too fast. Oh, that's pretty funny actually, for something that's not found. Nah, we're just gonna go positive Cody. That's all right. Let's stay positive. Yep. Okay, I like that. So let's remove this testing code. And I think that's the speaker component done. And guess what we didn't take from the board? The speaker component. Whoops, the speaker component. Again, I always forget to update the board first. So we're gonna make sure that that's an issue, and I'm gonna assign it to myself. So now we've actually already built the speaker component. All right. So I think we're gonna wrap it up just about there. I want to do a quick review of where we are at with screens that we might want to start building. So this screen seems fine. That's actually a splash screen that's probably going to be rendered as a single image, at least for Android. The splash screen is going to be a separate story. This screen, we can build the entire thing. We have the components. This one as well is just a bunch of text, basically. Oh, and of course the new header. So once I've cleaned that up and we merge it, then that's gonna be perfect for up there. Maybe it's probably worth. Yeah, I think I'll probably refactor that and extract like a static version of the header. So we have the static version, and then we have the search field, and then we just build another component on top of these that switches between the two. That seems like the easiest way to go about it for sanity, because that component did get very complex. So we have that header now. That's great. These components, we have all of them. It's just the Cody pieces of text, these settings items, which you already have. This would be super easy to build right now, actually. But I'm not gonna start building screens today on stream. And then for the main view, obviously we have to build that card at some point. That's gonna be a good one. I'm looking forward to building that. The speakers page, I mean, that's literally just a list of the speaker things. So that's ready to go. And of course, the toolbar, which is a different search this time. So we do have to make it easy to reuse the search field between these two screens. So that's actually going to be the test for us. Let's do that. Let's change the preview to reflect a couple different states, and then as I refactor, I'll have a better basis for going about things. So this was called the main header, right? And we had one of them which said schedule on it. And we'll create another one where I guess I'm just gonna call everything 2 for now. And in this preview, we're gonna call everything 1. And you can see that I'm on like an EAP version of Fleet where some of the inlay hints are buggy. I think that might be fixed already in Nightly, I'm not sure. But we're definitely working on it. Same thing here, just an inlay hint is missing. But actually I can't show you the Nightly because it has something that's too confidential to leak on stream, which is always a fun state to be in. So, you know, look forward to 2 Fleet releases for now, because the version we have here is 143, the public one is 142, and in 144 something happens that means that I can't use it for streaming at the moment. But that's exciting. We used to leak things on these streams, not this time. Okay, so I just edit all of these into something else and put the little 2s after every error. And then let's make sure that we look at this in the gallery. So again, this is the main header preview. And if we pull up that, it hot reloads and we have the same thing twice, which is good. Let's make it so that edit mode is false by default in both of these previews. And then what I wanted to do was reflect these 2 different states for the schedule and for the speaker themes. So the second thing I want to be the speaker one, and there are no bookmarks here, and there's no now button here. So that's the speaker variant of this. Oh, and actually, this title box should always be in the middle. Yeah. So we should ensure here that that's exactly centered, even if we don't have content on the left. That's actually quite important. And the same thing would go for... Well, we're just gonna have to duplicate this again. So I'm gonna mess up the numbers here a bit, but I'm just gonna call these 3s so that we have another copy of the schedule one. And then I'll remove the now button from there. And then we see that again, the texts are all over the place. So we should make sure that these are centered. And what's a good way for us to do that? So essentially, whenever we insert these things, we should put the appropriate weight on it. We could, for example, just put these content pieces in a box always, and we could have a weight on each of them, and we can check out what that looks like for a start. Why is end content no longer working? Oh, it's supposed to be in a row. Okay, we'll put it in its own row. Okay, that's good, except things are not spaced out now. So we need to change this row horizontal alignment. Sorry, arrangement. And the arrangement should be... Is it spaced evenly? No, this is already spaced evenly. So it's space around. Supposedly it's hot reloading. Space between. Oh, okay. So so none of these are gonna work because the three pieces are always the same size because of the weight. So that's not the correct way to go about it. We can make these very small in weight. But then of course they're squished, so that doesn't work. So weights are not the way to go. We could just make all of these a box instead of a row. Yeah, I think that would be pretty easy to do. So we can just make this whole thing a box, which does content alignment to the center vertically, or well, center because it has to be a 2D one. And then the first thing we align to center start. That was a good suggestion. Center start. And then the middle thing we align to the center, the exact center. And then the last thing we align, again, alignment to center end. There we go. That's the order. And if these contents took a modifier, this would be a bit easier, but they don't have to for now. There we go. Okay, that looks nice. I like the looks of that. Is this arrow pointing up intentionally? I am not sure. So that's the... Where is our preview code? Here's our preview code. Yes, it's after, so let's put that to before and save, and then it will be an arrow pointing down. Yeah. I mean, that looks very decent. Again, we can navigate to search. Navigates to search just fine. I've ever refactored this a bit, but the UI we've successfully built. I mean, we actually have, we have a working API here. It's just not as nice as it probably could be, but actually already super usable. And I suppose we should also look at the static use case. So just the screens where it just says like privacy policy on the top. Is there a screen where it doesn't even have a back button maybe? No, it's search. That's different. Oh, with info, it doesn't even have a back button. So we can also imagine that one might want a screen like that. So, for example, the info screen will have no back button, and again, no edit mode at all. So, like for this screen, it would be wonderful if we could just not provide any of the edit-related stuff, because it really doesn't need it. So if we could just skip the edit stuff, if that could just default to something, if that was just like false by default and so on, and it wouldn't have to have a search value because we're never going to go into edit mode. It's quite clear that these things should be grouped into a separate state or a separate component somehow. Yeah, giving these default values looks really ugly. So I'm just gonna go to do refactor, stop ship. Yeah, something like that. But yeah, the info screen would have no end content either, so it would literally be this, right? It would literally be just this. And then the privacy policy screen was a bit more complex. It had just the back button on the left, so that would be a start content, and it would be one of these top menu buttons. Should this be called top something if this is a top menu button? Maybe. That's also something we can think about. So yeah, it's a back button. It doesn't have to have a click handler. It doesn't have to have a selection thing. Content description it should have. That's important here. So these don't always need a selection either. Yeah, I think we need to refactor the top menu button too, because either it has a selection or it doesn't. And in the case where it's just clickable, it won't have a selected value. So we need to let this be called. So this is only for on toggle variant, and then we'll fix that later. But basically, we want to be able to call this with just an icon, a click listener, and a content description, because that's what the privacy policy needs. And if I save this and it refreshes, we can see that that's what the privacy policy one is gonna look like. All right. Yeah, so this is a great component. It's, again, the code is a bit messy. It's probably the most most complex component so far, next to like the filter. So I'll clean this up a bit. I'll commit it. I'll split this work from today's stream into like 3 branches or something, and eventually we'll start merging them. But yeah, with that, I think we're gonna wrap up. Does anyone have any questions before we do that? It's now the time to put those into the chat. We can still look at the code if you have burning questions. But yeah, that's building some more of the KotlinConf 2025 app using Compose Hot Reload. It mostly worked. I think we blew it up maybe twice, and that's it. Everything else was mostly my fault, because we just had code that didn't compile. And yeah, again, final reminders. KotlinConf is happening next year. I know May seems like it's far away, but tickets are selling and workshop tickets are selling. So if you want to grab a ticket, if you want to have your company pay for a ticket for you, make sure that you convince them to do that sooner rather than later, because KotlinConf does usually sell out. And once again, if you're a speaker sort of person, if you have a good story to tell about something Kotlin related, please do not forget to submit something for the CFP, because time is going fast on that, and we only have 5 days left. So you don't even have till the end of this week. So please sit down now, do the CFP, so that we can pick the best talks for the event. I see no questions in the chat. I'll give you like 30 more seconds, and otherwise we are tuning out, I think. So let's see if anything happens in that time. While you're doing that, I'll play with the slider that we've geniusly implemented. Oh, that's very wobbly. That's a lot of fun. So I'll play with the slider that we have implemented for the density changes. I mean, obviously this isn't graceful at like super small sizes, but realistically, that's probably okay. If we put this back into a row, we could deal with some of these clashes and start hiding elements or something, but I really hope that this is like way too zoomed in for any realistic uses. All right, with no questions, that's it then. I don't know when I'm doing the next stream of these. There will probably be one, but no promises. Thanks a lot for tuning in today, though. This was a lot of fun. I wish I picked myself something easier, because we don't have like a super neatly wrapped thing, because I just want to do a bunch of thinking on the design even further. But I mean, that's all right. We still built very valuable components. And again, when you're using this on KotlinConf next year, you'll know that you were here when they were built, which is hopefully a fun feeling. Yeah, that's it. See you whenever next time is. I'm out.